Hi friends, good evening. Welcome back to Sun and Education channel. Friends, in the previous class, we discussed about the central teachers eligibility test, child development and pedagogy. Okay, in continuation with the same child development and pedagogy class, today we are going to discuss the following aspects. Before going to discuss today's topic, first of all we have to revise the previous class information. Okay, then in the previous class we discussed about the developmental concepts like growth, development, maturation and developmental stages and developments. So, once we recall those concepts like what is growth and what is development, and what are the developments and what are the developmental stages. So, growth is nothing but it is a physical change or physiological change. Quantitative change is known as growth. Quantitative change is known as growth, and it is a physiological and physical change. And next one, development. Development is nothing but it is a qualitative change. Qualitative change is known as development. Development is a continuous process. Qualitative change is nothing but the development in internal process like internal aspects like cognitive development, affective development, social development, and moral development aspects. That is development. Development is a continuous process, and growth is a temporary process or short-term process. Growth can be measurable, whereas development cannot be measurable. Development is a continuous process. And maturation. Next thing is maturation. Maturation, the development of innate abilities gradually and systematically is known as maturation. Without maturation, there is no learning. If there is no maturation, there is no learning. Learning plays a vital, maturation plays a vital role in learning. So the change occurs through learning is not the maturation. Maturation is a plays a vital role in learning. And next things, developments, developmental aspects. In human development, certain developmental aspects are there, like physical development, cognitive development, affective development, social development, and moral development aspects. Come to the physical development. Physical development is nothing but the development in physical body, like height and weight, etc. So, physical without physical development, there is no cognitive and affective and social and moral developmental aspects. So, physical development plays a vital role. So, if a person is having good physic, good physics, good body, sorts from all sorts of diseases. So, if he is having a good health, then he will think effectively and he will be very active, etc. So that's why physical development plays a vital role. Physical development is very very important, and it is a base for the cognitive development. So what do you mean by cognitive development? Cognitive development is nothing but the knowledge of thinking, reasoning, imagination, perception, attention is known as cognitive development. Cognitive development combines with thinking, reasoning, imagination, perception, attention, retention is known as the cognitive development. This cognitive development theory was proposed by Piaget. Piaget, a Swiss psychologist, was proposed the theory, Piaget theory of cognitive development. Next, come to the affective development. Affective development is not a single development. Under affective development, needs, aptitudes, and attitudes comes under affective needs, aptitudes, and attitudes comes under affective development. Affective development is not a single development. Needs, human developmental needs, air, water, physiological needs, psychological needs, esteem needs, love and belonging needs, etc. Those comes under human needs theory. Maslow hierarchy of needs theory. There is one theory is there, that is Maslow hierarchy of needs theory. So that is needs, and next one is aptitudes. Aptitudes or interests. Aptitude. It is attention towards a particular subject, that is known as aptitude. And next one is attitude. Attitude is nothing but it is a response. Aptitude is nothing but it is a response towards a particular subject, particular situation, particular person, particular institution, whatever it may be. It is known as attitude. Attitude is a response towards a particular person, institutions, or anything, that is known as positively or negatively, that is known as attitude. So affective development, these three aspect comes under affective development. Next one is social development. Social development is a very very important aspect. Social development is very very important concept. Without socialization there is no life. Why? Because man is a social animal. Social development starts from the home. Firstly starts from the mother, first, then home, then school, then society. So it is a sequential process. So the socialization process is very very important process in the social development. That's why man is a social animal. Without the social development we cannot move in the society. That's why social development plays a vital role in the human development. The social development starts from the home and school, and then the society. So the man grows in different stages. This socialization and social development process plays a vital role so in the human development process. And next one is moral development. Moral development is nothing but what is right and what is wrong, and what is good and what is bad. So that is thus kind of discrimination is very very important. So in order to know that differences and developments, this Kohlberg, a psychologist, was proposed the theory, Kohlberg theory of moral development. We will discuss in this particular development that theory, Kohlberg theory of moral development. So, and social development and moral developmental aspects. Development, these are the developmental aspects. So, and next one, developmental stages. Universally aspected stages are there. Four universally aspected stages are there. That is infancy stage, childhood stage, adolescence stage, adulthood stage. So these four stages are universally accepted developmental stages. Developments, types of developments already we discussed. That is physical development, cognitive development, affective development, social development, and moral development aspects. Whereas developmental stages, developmental stages like infancy stage, childhood stage, adolescence stage, and adulthood stage. So according to Elizabeth Hurlock, there's 10 stages are there. According to Elizabeth Hurlock, E.B. Hurlock, E.B. Hurlock, developmental stages are 10 stages. 10 developmental stages. But universally accepted stages are 4 stages. Namely, that is infancy stage, childhood stage, adolescence stage, adulthood stage. So, Elizabeth Hurlock, a child psychologist, developmental psychologist, has divided the human developments into 10 stages, whereas universally accepted stages are 4 stages, that is infancy stage, childhood stage, adolescence stage, and adulthood stages. And next, we already discussed the growth, development, and maturation. If we see the comparison between growth and development, growth is a physical change and physiological change, whereas development is a physical, cognitive, affective, social, and moral developmental stages. Whereas growth can be measurable, whereas development cannot be measured. Why? Because development will be assessed. Development will be assessed. We cannot measure the development. We can measure the growth of an individual. I mean, particularly the height of an individual, the weight of an individual. So development is now is a continuous process. Development is from womb to tomb, from childbirth to uh, childbirth to death, up to adulthood stage. The development continues up to up to death. The development continues. So development is a continuous process. Development is an internal process. I mean, development is different types. That is physical development, cognitive, affective, social, and moral developmental aspects. Whereas growth is a single factor. Growth can be measurable, whereas development cannot be measurable. Development can be assessed. Development is sequential. Sequential from womb to tomb. Development shows the individual differences. Development shows the individual differences. I mean, the development cannot be the same in all stages. All stages in the sense like infancy stage. If we see infancy stage, the development is not the. And if we compare the development in infancy stage as well as childhood stage, there is a lot of difference between infancy stage and childhood stage. If we compare the childhood stage and adolescent stage, the development stage is very different. And if we compare the adolescence and adulthood stage, the development is not the same. So that's why the development is not the same in different stages. So development shows the individual differences also. Development shows is the not the same in different stages, and also development shows the individual differences. Individual difference is nothing but the difference between two persons in several aspects is known as individual differences. So in the same manner, the development shows the individual differences in various aspects. For example, if we compare two children's, definitely there will be a lot of difference between the two persons, like in intelligence and their aptitudes, their attitudes, and their personality. So definitely, everybody is not a genius. Everybody is not a creative person. Everybody is not a average student. Average, above average, below average, gifted students are there, creative children are there. So that's why if we compare the two childrens, definitely there will be a lot of difference between two childrens. Their developments, developments are very different developments. Like in personality, also some may be integrated personality, and some may be split personalities, and some may be maladjusted personalities. So definitely there will be a lot of difference. If you compare the two children's intelligence, one person may be average, and one person may be above average, and one person may be below average, and one person may be gifted also and creative also. So in personality aspect, in intelligence aspect, in creative levels, in their aptitudes, in their attitudes, definitely there will be a lot of difference. That's why development shows the development shows the individual differences. So that is also that is known as principles of individual differences. And if we see the principles of development, development is sequential and specific. Why? Because development is just sequential and specific. See, it proceeds sequentially. Development proceeds sequentially, and development is a specific factor. Why? Because if the child burns after childbirth, um, it takes place different types of developments. When the development process is going on, the child develops in various aspects, from simple aspects to complex aspects, like that stood the head and crawling and walking, running and bobbling, and different types of activities are there. So the development is not Development is a sequential and specific. And the principles of individual differences already we discussed, and simple to complex. Simple activities to development is simple activities to complex activities. Why? Because immediately after the childbirth, the child is not completed their complicated works like arithmetic or reasoning, whatever calculations, whatever it may be. Slowly, gradually, they learn the arithmetic and they perform the activities, and they know the language development and etc. Different developments are there. So that's why development is a simple to complex process. It's not the complex to simple one. Simple activities to complex activities. So that's why development proceeds to simple to complex, and development is not the same in all stages. Just now we discussed it. Development is not the same in all aspects. Why? Because all stages. Why? Because different stage, different development is there. In infancy stage, infancy stage, the development is different. And for example, dimensions of development in the various stages, the dimensions are different. Like physical development infancy stage, physical development at early childhood stage, physical development at post childhood stage, physical development at adolescent stage, and physical development at adulthood stage. So at the same time, cognitive development at infancy stage, cognitive development at early childhood stage, cognitive development at post childhood stage, and cognitive development at adolescent stage, and cognitive development at adulthood stage. So different dimensions, different stages. So in the same manner, affective development, social development, and moral development aspects. That's why development is not the same in all stages. Different stages, different developments are there. And next is a continuous cumulative process. Yes, development is a continuous process. Why? Because if we compare with growth and development, growth is a temporary process, whereas development is a continuous and cumulative process. Continuous process from childbirth to womb to tomb. Parent womb to and tomb, the development is continuous. So that's why continuous and cumulative process. It is a cumulative process. And principles of heredity and environment. Development follows the influence the heredity and environment. Heredity and environment. What do you mean by heredity and what do you mean by environment? Heredity is nothing but the transformation of genes from one generation to another generation. The transformation of genes from one generation to another generation, that is known as heredity. And environment means nothing but except genes, all the factor comes under environment. So heredity and environment, the principle of heredity and environment. Development shows influence on heredity and environment, and also principles of what it is, unified whole. Development is a unified whole. And it is a lifelong factor, lifelong process. Development is a unified whole, and development is a lifelong process. And when coming to the factors influencing development, developmental factors are there: air, water, and hormones, sexual differences. These are the factors influencing development. In generally, these factors are influenced on growth and development of an individual. Air, good oxygen. If we get good oxygen, so our thinking levels and brain, it is performs very effectively. And water is also very important. And hormonals, endocrine glands, pituitary glands, thyroid glands, parathyroid glands, adrenaline glands, different endocrine systems are there. So their functions, depending upon the secretions of the endocrine system, our behavior levels will be effective. So that's why hormones also plays a vital role in women development. And sexual differences like men and women, Definitely, there will be a lot of difference between men and women in several factors like adjustment and maladjustment, and also their aptitude and intelligence and various aspects. So that's why these factors are very, very important: air, water, and hormone and sexual differences. And next, if we go through the, I mean. Theories of heredity theories. Gregor Jan Mendel is the father of genetics. You know very well that Gregor John Mendel is a father of genetics. So he made experiments on garden peas, and he is known as the father of genetics. He proposed the theory of heredity, theory of heredity, and he proposed the three main principles, that is law of similarity, law of variance, and law of regression. Law of similarity, law of variance, and law of regression. So all these factors, whatever it may be, different types of dimensions or developments, everything comes under. If we see that it is like a biology, but growth and development is a combination of biological theorems. That's why we discussed this, that is heredity and environmental factors. So simply, if we go through the growth and developmental factors, every factors like heredity, environment, personality, intelligence, aptitude, attitudes, every aspect comes under development. So that's why development is a continuous process. Development cannot be measured. Development can be assessed, and development is influence heredity and environment. Development shows is not the same in different aspects. So the principles of development is very, very important in the examinations. The examiner may take any point, and they may ask the questions. So that's why in this particular central teachers eligibility test, or any state teachers eligibility tests, definitely your preparation must be theoretical. First of all, we have to learn the concepts: what is growth, and what is development, and what is maturation, and what are the developmental stages, and various what are the principles of development, and different dimensions of development. These are the main very, very important factors. If we go through thoroughly the theoretical aspects or theoretical concepts, definitely afterwards we will answer the objective type and applied type of questions. So that's why this is the important factors, that is principles of development and developmental stages, and that is infancy, childhood, adolescence. And if you see the adolescence stage, this is a complicated stage. Adolescence is a complicated stage. It is a stress and strain age also. Adolescence stage is a stress and strain age. So it is a teenage. It is known as teenage and stress and strain age. Stanley Hall given the definition: stress and strain. Stress and adolescence stage is the stage of stress and strain. This type of questions also the examiner may ask. Who said the adolescence is the stress and strain? Stanley Hall, a child psychologist. Stanley Hall. Stanley Hall. So like that, different types of questions may come in the different versions. So anyway, thank you one and all, and please subscribe our Sun9 Education channel. Thank you one and all, and we will meet in the next class. Thank you.